Hi, this is Roger. We're just going to have a look around the garden. Be a relatively quick look. My idea was to try and film some of the quite numerous butterflies that were here yesterday, but they must be camera shy. I can see two at the moment, and whether they're going to sit still or not is another matter. And I've got to get near them, while they're resting. We shall see. The problem I have with the garden is weather. Now, we had the driest May and the sunniest May. Well, that's when a lot of the summer plants are developing, not flowering, they're growing, they're getting their size, they're getting the roots down, they're doing all that sort of thing. And then we came into June and it was just more of the same. Somewhere in there was some rain, but it wasn't much, and it was short-lived. So what we've got now is me having to water manually, and as far as the garden plants are concerned, they're just getting tap water, which is not rainwater. Therefore they're not getting any of the stuff that would be in rainwater. And I'm not going round, with a watering can individually feeding a mass of plants like this. So they're just going to have to fend for themselves. What I am doing with the hose is keeping them alive, and that's the best I can do at the moment. So that's what we're doing. And some things have come on. The foxgloves were short-lived. It's too dry for them. They're edge of forest plants, country lanes, on the shadier side, not the sunny side. When you get a north-south lane in this country, one side gets the sun for half the day and the other side gets it for the other half. And if it's east-west, one side gets no sun at all. And they tend to go for the shadier option and edges of woodlands and things. And with the lack of hydration, they're just being short-lived at the moment. Hopefully some will set some seed and we'll get some seedlings. I'm reasonably certain that those plants there are foxglove seedlings. They look very much like it, so hopefully they'll grow on. But they've been there like that some time. They're not growing. They need moisture. They're just not growing. Anyway, the ferns that were planted either last year or the year before, they've done well. They've pushed up. They look nice. Lots of different types. Literally, quite a few different types. The one at the back there is, I've got a couple of those. They came from Helen. The one in front of it is a different type. This again is a different type. This is a different type. And then we've got this strange one here. That's a different type. And then we've got this one, which is probably my nicest looking fern. It's one of the first ones I ever planted. And then coming along here, all the geraniums are starting to die back. The blooms are not lasting. They need moisture. They're just spindly and dry. This one's come out, it's had its blooms and gone to seed effectively. I will come along here not in this heat, but I will come along here and actually cut these dead flower spikes back. And there is time this year for the plants to actually shoot out and flower again. Again, with the tall plants, the phlox and Michaelmas daisies, they're growing okay, but they're incredibly slow. The rose has had its initial flowers taken off. That's pushing on and getting some more buds, so we will get some more roses. That's a very attractive rose, that one. The rose campion, which I'm told will take over the garden. Well, I'd like to see it try. My attitude to things in the garden that self-seed is anything that I don't want or is in what I consider to be the wrong place will get pulled out while it's young. Problem over. But these are a gorgeous colour, aren't they? Lovely. And that's so unexpected. Those plants came from Helen, quite a few. and they grew their nice silvery green velvety leaves as low growing plants. I didn't expect them to shoot up to that sort of height and then flower. That was not expected. But then I've never been anywhere near them before. Now up here, the first of the Michaelmas daisies is out. Quite attractive, and I've seen some bees on there, so they're quite happy. And the Crocosmia has now got spikes showing through, and it's just starting to open. So we've got this nice splash of reddish orange in several places. There's quite a few spikes. I've had to gather that together and tie it with a stake because it was flopped all over the place. That's the trouble, not enough hydration, and things are not self-supporting at all. Now, this campanula is a clump forming, ground cover, spreading, let's take over the world type. But it has lovely attractive flowers, and again the bees are on it, you know, all the time. Got a nice clump here. As it dies back like this, you can just grab handfuls of it and take it back to the base plant, and it will shoot out with lovely bright green foliage again, and if there's time it may even bloom a second time. Now its bigger cousin has got flowers on now. This is again a campanula, but it's a taller type. So that's that one. All of the marjoram is going to be in bloom soon. What's that? Oh, that's a dead thingy, chives. The two geraniums that were indoors for the winter, they're pushing on nicely now, and we will have colour very soon on both of them. So they're coming on, they're doing okay. I'll say the marjoram will be out soon. Now coming back over here, I'm not classing this as a gardening video, it's what's in the garden type video. That's supposed to be a bonsai. Look at the state of it. Look at the length of these new growths from when it was last pruned. Somewhere in the middle of that bush, I mean look at the length of that growth down there. Somewhere in the middle of that bush is a bonsai tree. My Oni Satsuki azalea is just finishing flowering now. This has had a good number of blooms on it, and it's pushed out an awful lot of new growth, so I shall have to look up what the best thing is to do with that. I know you're supposed to go round and take the flower heads off so that the tree doesn't waste energy on seed pods, which is a bit fiddly, but they do come off quite easy. And then my hornbeam, European hornbeam, has done this year because it's been out of the sun. This just does not do well in the sun. It doesn't seem to be able to hydrate itself. Obviously in the ground it would, but in a pot it just can't get enough hydration up through the roots. But it's grown on nicely this year, so we've got some nice branches to be able to select from, which I won't be doing. I want all the strength to go into this tree. I don't want this hacked. It's not getting pruned. That will get done in the winter time when all the leaves have gone and all the goodness has been reabsorbed into the tree, and then we will have a look at the branch structure and see what we can do. Now the little golden fuchsia that Hannah got me, that's coming on nicely. That's perked up and is pushing on some, and we've got some buds, come to think of it. So that's doing okay. Need to get that in a bigger pot sometime. Now again, somewhere in this bush with all these long extensions is actually a nice bonsai with a nice trunk and nice shape to it. That one just needs a trim just to bring it back tidy. That's not a big deal, that one. And then my trident maple, this was an air layer, that's put on a lot of growth this year, which also means it's produced a decent root system. This is its first year in a pot. It's doing okay. And again, this maple here, it's got a nice trunk, it's a nice shape, but at the moment it's doing this, so it just looks like a mess. And then here is the rest of the trident maple, what was left after the air layer. And it's just 3 small trees in the pot basically. They're growing like mad. I'm still not quite sure what I'm going to do with that. Now, this is what I mean by taking over the world. This campanula on the floor here has nowhere to root but in the crevices between the pavers. And look how well it's doing. And it came from here because when this pot came round from the other place, it had some in it which is self-seeded all over the pavers. So pretty rampant, that thing. Right, it's coming round here. This rose needs a prune now to encourage some new buds, but quite honestly it produces the new buds without any pruning, does its own thing. Yeah, chaffinch having a sing, noisy tyke. The fuchsia that we dug out of the ground that had competition here, hey, I'm talking. The wildlife gets priority, not me. But this has grown on really well. I didn't think it was going to make it at first. It had so few feeder roots on it. It just had tap roots. But anyway, it's been potted up. There were several pieces, and to have put on that much new growth, it must now have feeder roots. So the roots are going to be filling that pot. And we got buds coming now. We got the first one out. So there's our first fuchsia. Jolly good. And then this geranium through here. This is, it has multiple colours and multiple versions depending on how long the flowers have been open. But that's a new one. That's recently opened. Incredibly attractive blooms. And then as they fade, they change to a paler pink. And overnight, they close up. So they actually close up tight. Conserves strength and energy, I presume. Whew. It's hot out here. I think I'm going to speed up a bit. What do you mean you can't do that? No, I can't. I'm terrible at it. That ground cover over there that bloomed last year and died, I didn't think was going to come back, but it has. And it's flowering again. So I think we now have perpetual ground cover with nice green foliage and nice yellow blooms. It's not attractive to many insects, unfortunately. And then here we've got the lavender that came from Carol, and it's flopped. Basically it needs a bigger, better root base to do really well, or it needs a lot more rain as far as the weather's concerned to keep it hydrated. It's living in gravel. That's not necessarily its best sort of place. Now if we had occasional rain it would be doing well, but it's flopped over a bit. But nonetheless it's blooming. It's got lots of blooms, and the bees and hoverflies come on it, and so far I've seen one butterfly on it. Now the come on, nope, brain's gone to sleep again. It does that. It's called getting old, I think. My 3 bonsai here, I've got my false larch, or golden larch as it's called, my little Alberta spruce, and my copper beech. They're okay. I mean, this pot needs a clear out again. It's already had one this year. But apart from that, they're just okay. They quite like the full sun. We'll do those in a minute. Right, do you know the name of that herb will not come? You probably know what it is and don't need me to tell you, but it's taken over many places and now it's in bloom. I don't care how much ground it's taken over, but I've had to cut it back despite it being in flower. I've had to cut this down to ground level, and I've had to cut that right back because one of Mojo's favourite places to sit in the morning sun, he wouldn't get to it. He wouldn't step through the plants, and there wasn't a way round, so he just stopped going into that corner. And as that's one of his favourite places, we've sacrificed a bit of the plant, not all of it. The geraniums under the hedge that Hannah planted, the pink ones, they're straggly, spindly, they're just not going to do well. The hedge, especially the laurel, is taking all the moisture from them, and not that there is any at the moment. The pyracantha has got a mass of berries. They will turn a nice bright orange in the not too distant future. Future, come on mouth. And in amongst the camellia is the clematis or clematis. Now I can get in here now because we pulled the out, forget-me-nots. But that's where one was, and that's where one's going to be. So we've got another bud coming. It's never going to be a mass blooming, but it is threading its way around the camellia, which I'm happy to let it do. That's that. Right, now other types of ground cover. We've got this yellowy leaved one. So folia wise it's quite yellow, and it's now a mass of lovely yellow star-shaped blooms. And I have seen bees, hoverflies and a couple of butterflies on it, so that's doing well. This really low ground hugging ground cover has got these delicate white flowers on. You know, that the name of that herb's driving it up the wall because it won't come. Now that yellowy type ground cover, there's also a greeny grey type ground cover, and believe it or not, the blooms are virtually identical. So and every now and again we just have to spot a weed, pull it out and leave it in the sun. It'll be dead in 10 minutes. Now we have to come round here. Now this is going to be a problem soon. Mojo doesn't like walking along the path. If his face touches a cobweb, he really veers away from it. He doesn't like it. So first thing in the morning I may have to go round with a stick or something and just walk the paths to make sure they're clear, because he really doesn't like it. I don't either. This was the buddleia that I bought with the money from Gail to get some butterflies in the garden, and when I went to the garden centre they only had a white one, and I thought I doubt if the butterflies take much difference, and I don't think they do. But this one's coming out in flower now, so we've got blooms on this one and stacks more to come, absolutely covered in buds. See, now this is starting to droop. This was thoroughly watered this morning. Just can't get enough hydration into some of the larger plants. Now this big bush isn't a bush, it's two. There are two different types of buddleia in here. This is one which is just coming into flower. There are a few just opening. Let's get back round the front. And that's the other one. And look at the size of the blooms this year. They're just starting to open. And then that's the one that's most open at the moment. So we've got buddleias open. All we need now is the butterflies to find it, which they will do when they visit. Now my beach bonsai is looking good. That's been trimmed and it's kept its shape quite nicely this year, and my Japanese larch has put on a tremendous amount of growth that will put strength into the tree, thicken up the trunk, and will get trimmed after the foliage drops, because that's deciduous even though it's a conifer. The little juniper that's had a bit of shaping done on it was cut really hard back. That's put on a fair bit of new growth. And this was my joke bonsai that I thought, can I pull one of these out of the ground without having to dig it up? So I put two hands on it and gave it a yank and fell, well, to coin a phrase, arse over back, arse over bee, and I sat down in the wet moss, and I had a wet bottom which I then had to sit in my car seat. So not so good. But nonetheless, that got cut quite hard back, and it's done a lot of shooting out. So eventually I will be able to make something out of that. I'm still not quite sure what. At the moment it's just a basic shape with some branches. It's nothing special. And still can't think of what that herb is. It's not going to come, and the more I try, the less it's going to work. So this is sedum. This will probably be opened within the next 2 to 3 weeks. It's going to be a mass of lovely pink blooms, and most of the pollinators, butterflies, bees, hoverflies, like it. So that should do well. The 2 pots that have been taken over by the cuckoo flower, which is also self-seeded onto the ground in the surrounding area, which I'm happy with. It's a spring bloomer, spring into early summer, and then it's finished. And it's literally dropped its last few blooms in the last couple of weeks, so it's been in flower an incredibly long time this year, and that's probably because the plants are much more established. So doing well, and my Sarracenias are loving the sun. I didn't think this was a full sun plant till I went to the actual carnivorous plant nursery and saw them out in raised beds in the middle of a field with no cover whatsoever, not from the wind, the snow, the rain, or full sun. And theirs were doing great, so I thought, well, let's give it a go then. So I moved them into the sun. They don't half get through some water though. And they do put up these very strange blooms. Very strange. Alien-like. Still, the plants are a bit alien-like. Now, the red valerian, I have to make a decision. If this main plant dies back and is gone, then in theory I could lose it. And I've cut back quite a lot of the blooms as they go to seed. As you see the fluffy bits, it's going to seed. Those will blow around if we ever get any wind, which we haven't had for ages. You know, a breeze would actually cool things down, but not a light. You have a look at that tree up there. There's virtually no movement, and that's up in the air. I usually go by my maple. Very, very slight movement, so there is a subtle bit of breeze, but not enough to cool things down. That gorgeous colour against the blue sky. That's looking good. So anyway, see this one, the blooms are virtually gone. So this one ought to be cut back to here, and there might be time for these 2 shoots to produce some more blooms. So we shall get out here with the secateurs and take some seed heads off. But if I don't leave some to go to seed, I could lose the plant in the garden. You know, there are a few of self-seeded in other places. There's one there, there's one there, there's one up the back there, so there are 2 up the back there, so there are a few around that, you know, are not part of this main clump, but I certainly don't want to lose it. And then this is some more of that grey-green coloured ground cover with the yellow blooms. That's doing okay, that one. That seems to be doing a bit better than those out there in the full sun. But that's not because they don't like full sun, that's because it's not getting any moisture. I wonder how many times I've said that. This, I've forgotten what that's called as well. You have to excuse me, I'm just not very good with plant names. My head is cluttered up with orchid names, basically. That's my excuse, but again, keep deadheading and we will get loads more blooms. Just keep at it. Just keep pulling them off as I walk past, and then I just chuck them in underneath the plant. You never know, a few might seed. Looking good. Now, in here, in this pot, is the Himalayan honeysuckle, and we have our first bloom over here. So the first one has opened, and there's another one next to it to follow on. It's a wayward plant, it does take up a lot of space, but it does have attractive blooms, and certain types of bees like it, not all. But over here one has self-seeded, and where was it? I saw another one. Oh yeah, and spiders. And another one self-seeded there. So I could start those off in a pot. Who knows? More ground cover here. One manky cat. Now, this has flopped. If I get some water on it and a stake. Now, I bought one of these and put it in a pot, and the wind blew it over and broke it off and it died. And I'm blowed if I can remember what it's called, but we have one that's done its own thing. So the name of that would be appreciated, but I'm going to have to get a stake on it because it's flopped. So it's not going to look anything at all if I don't bring it back up right and get some water on it, I suppose. Never ending, this water saga. Right, where are we? My juniper that's in a pot that one day will be a wonderful bonsai and isn't at the moment, might get done in the autumn. It's more likely to get done in very early spring, where we'll get it out of the pot, do the branch selection, etc. Now, in this pot we've got Mimulus. Those are this is the wild version, this is the native one, not a hybrid. Normally they're a pond edging plant, but what I'd forgotten was in this tub is these. I've forgotten what those are called. There's something like Helenium, something like that, possibly. But lovely feathery foliage, and they die right back to nothing and then they come back again. So we got a few of those. I think the wild version of that is yarrow, and that's yellow normally. And then this thing needs another trim. As the spikes finish, they need to be trimmed back, otherwise the strength is pulled into making seed, and it will keep producing new shoots as long as that doesn't happen. So that's good. This lavender, I've had to strap it up basically because it got put next to this and therefore grew out sideways, and it's naturally grown out sideways and gone all woody at the base. So the only way I could get it back upright was to stick one of my plant stays on it, and I couldn't get it all in there, so some of it's still flopped over. But it's going to have a nice blooming, and they'll all be clustered together, so the bees shouldn't have any trouble finding them. And then over there we've got our rosemary, which was trimmed very hard back and is now pushing on lots of nice new growth, which will be next early spring's flowers. And some more of the rose campion over here. That, well, as I said, I didn't know it was going to grow that tall and then bloom at that height. So that was planted as sort of ground cover stuff, and it's done that. But it can be seen, you know, from most of the garden, and it's more than welcome. It's very attractive. So there we are, that's what's going on. So a quick look at and chat about the bonsai and what's in flower, including the herb that's taken over an awful lot of the ground, and I can't even remember the name of it. It's still annoying me, but as long as it annoys me, it's not going to come. It's just going to stay locked just out of reach. Just out of reach. And I've got several words clamouring to pull forward, and they're not the right ones, so I keep having to push them back. But it is looking good. As I said, I didn't expect to get quite such a mass blooming, but and have to cut it back in places to recover the paths so that me and Mojo can walk along them. So perhaps nope, I thought if I crush some of the leaves and get the scent, it'll remind me what it is, but nope, even that's not going to work. Don't believe it. Now we've got a peacock butterfly flitting around, but it's stopped up on the bramble behind the shed, so I'm not going to be able to film it up there. So my hope of filming lots of the butterflies has failed miserably. We'll try again another day. We've still got plenty of sunshine. There's a possibility of rain in the middle of next week, but I bet it don't come here. I bet it just goes either side or over the top, and we don't get any. Just typical that well, but we really could do with some rain. Nice steady rain for a few days and get it right down into the ground and refresh all the deeper roots. that would be good. But we shall wait and see. In the meantime, I shall keep doing manual watering, which does get on my thrupneys as it's a daily event. I can't leave it. If I leave it a day, I'd end up with plants just flop down and they'd break off because of the weight, because they've grown so tall. So I have to keep doing it. Now, I don't get the hose out every day. I use the watering can for the tubs and the bonsai. The ground I do every third or fourth day with the hose. So I'm not having to do that every day, and that was done this morning on the grounds that today and tomorrow are going to be the hottest 2 days, allegedly. And being out here now with my back to that sun, I actually believe them. Oh, we didn't look at the two conifers. That's the best way to get in there without treading on stuff. Now this is my birthday tree, and the amount of new growth is impressive. Very impressive. This has put on a mass of new growth. Now again, because Japanese white pine is not something I'm that familiar with, I need to find out what to do with it. I'm sure we can do without the cones, so that's one thing I can do with it, but I can do that now. Just break those off, they just fall off. But yeah, you can see this new growth on here. Also known as a 5-needle pine, because most conifers, like the Scots pine behind it, each little node has 2 needles. And that's why this looks so dense. It has 5. That's his nickname, 5-needle pine. There aren't many that come into that category. So we've still got to do main branch selection on here. But to do the main branch selection and put some wire on and get some shape, this plant's still actively growing, therefore the branches are still swelling. If I put wire on it now, it will cut in. So if we wait into September, when the growth sort of finishes, then we can trim off some excess branches, get some wire on what's left, and get some real bonsai shape to the tree and turn it into something nice. But it's certainly gained its strength. To have put on that much growth is pretty good. So that's those two, and the Scots pine up there. Hang on, let's go around the other side, because it's only got one view really because of the shari down the front, the lightning strike, which is where it gets its nickname. Now this plant was failing, this tree. This was not doing very well at all. So it basically put out cones on virtually every shoot, which I took off. And luckily, if I can get in a bit, it's produced some more in places, which I will take off, but it's also producing quite a lot of new shoots, several per growth in a lot of cases. So it's coming back, slowly but surely, it's coming back. It's probably got a good root system. I forget when it was last repotted, but not a huge amount of time ago. I'm stuck at the moment. My sandal has got caught between this pot and the step. I can't get out. That's got it. Duh. Anyway, so that's where we are with the plants, the ground cover, the tubs, and the bonsai, who, you know, that is part of the garden. I've still got to get the staging coated up, and the table, that's going to come black, and the bench type staging, that is just a matter of lifting the bonsai off, giving it a quick brush to make sure it's relatively clean, and painting it. I'm not doing the underside or the legs or anything. There aren't any legs on that one, but there are on that. I'm just doing the top to freshen it up and make it look nice bright black. And then the table types, I will take in the conservatory when we get some cooler weather, turn them upside down so that I can do the underside of the table and the underside of the base, which is where it's going to rot if ever it does. And then when that's dry, turn it up the other way and do the top view. So and I should be able to do 2 at a time, and there are only, I think there's only 4. Yeah, and I mean some of them are quite short, so a lot less leg to paint. So we'll get those done, freshen them all up, and then this is going to go round in the carport when I get round to doing it. This I'm going to throw away because fundamentally it doesn't work. The birds peck into the little hole to get at the seed and it doesn't replenish it. So it just doesn't work. So I should dump that one and get another one for next year. And as I say, that can go round in the carport, out of the way, in preparation for the Cymbidium staging coming out, which stays in the shade on days like this over here. But then late in the afternoon, when you get to sort of like 4:30, it can come into full sun for a couple of hours. But I don't want the Cymbidiums in this level of sunlight and heat. These are cool growing plants, they're not going to like this. So there we go. Hope you enjoyed this little tour round. And as I said, there's lots of nice things that have come this year that I haven't seen before. The Campanula's done really well. The Rose Campion wasn't here before. The Welsh poppies have done well, although there's not many out at the moment. And you know, the bonsai are pushing on nicely. The Sarracenias are. The Buddleias have done absolutely brilliantly and grown into much bigger, stronger bushes this year, and should flower for a nice long time. So yeah, lots of nice things, and still got things to come. All of this marjoram, it's going to be a mass of flowers soon, absolute mass. Michaelmas daisies have only just started, they'll be a mass of flowers in the not too distant future, and the phlox should put on some blooms. And in addition to that, the Crocosmia is just starting to bloom, and there are quite a few flower spikes coming out the top, so that's going to be and also the geraniums are going to be in bloom soon. So there's lots more to look forward to. Nope, still not going to come, the name of that herb. It's driving me up the wall. But as long as it does, it's going to stay shut away. But it is annoying. Still, so be it. And I'll leave it at that because that's gone on a bit longer than I originally planned. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.